The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network. The Women of Golf show is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips magazine. iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company, providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, with insightful reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, helping you improve your game from tee to green. Good morning, welcome to the Women of Golf, the #1 women's golf show around the world, with host Ted Odorico and Cindy Miller. Join them as they interview some of the best players from the Epson, LPGA and Legends Tour, and so many others helping to elevate women's golf. So without further ado, here are your hosts, Ted and Cindy.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Season 12 of the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and right alongside, of course, each and every week is none other than Legends Tour player and LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we are your hosts here on the Women of Golf Show. Good morning, Cindy. How are you? I'm doing fantastic. We got a great show this morning. We're joined by a very special guest, Samantha Wagner, who is our latest LPGA Epson Tour winner, and we're going to talk a little bit about her in just a moment. And then a little bit later on, you and I are going to jump into the no BS zone for another great discussion this week. We're going to talk about 5 common mistakes golfers make off the tee. So we're going to talk about those a little bit later on. But let me introduce Samantha, and we'll get right into our conversation because I know she's got to be ready to get out there and warm up for her next event. So Samantha, of course, became a rookie on the Epson Tour back in 2018. She played collegiate golf at the University of Florida, where she was named to the 2016 All-SEC Freshman Team and was twice named the SEC Women's Freshman Golfer of the Week. She also won her first Epson Tour event this season, just a couple of short weeks ago at the Firekeepers Casino Hotel Championship. So, Cindy, let's welcome Samantha to the show.
Good morning, dear.
Good morning.
Aren't you excited?
Yeah, it's been it's been a week. It's been a crazy, overwhelming week. I've been close, but it's been nice to finally get over that hump. Finally recovering, I think, a little bit, getting some better rest. Last week was a little rough, but it's been awesome.
Well, good. Well, congratulations, of course, and on your win.
Thank you.
And we were hoping to get you on fresh off the win, but we weren't able to make that happen. So I said, we got to get her on. And our good buddy Luke, who is, of course, the works behind the scenes getting the players on the show for us. And so we're excited to have you this week. So I just want to ask you just a couple of things, then I'm going to pass it back to Cindy. So first off, obviously you've got to be excited, as we can tell. How do you feel to finally get that win this season? Because you've been playing now since 2018, and I know you've had, obviously, like many players, some ups and downs along the way. But how do you feel? Like, what was sort of going through your head when you realized, okay, this is my event, I won it?
Yeah, well, thankfully I didn't realize it was my event until my second to last putt. I had no idea until I walked on the 18th green. So for me, it was actually kind of nice to not know, I think. I've known in the past how close I was, or if I had the lead going to the last day kind of things. And maybe I've let that get to me a little bit before. Whereas this time I just was in a nice little Zen state for the entire time. I was playing with a good friend. We were having a great time. And I got on the 18th green and I was like, oh, my name's at the top of the leaderboard and I have a 2-shot lead. And I had this downhill, 3-foot breaking 30-foot putt. And I was like, well, you don't really need to hit this that hard. So I was a little nervous over my 1-foot tap in. I mean, obviously I've watched, a lot of pros have those putts and, they feel it then. And I did. But then I was a little overwhelmed because I couldn't see there were 2 groups behind me. So I wasn't in the last group, and I couldn't see the entirety of the leaderboard. So I didn't know what everyone had done in 17. It was a drivable hole that day. So like I kind of had to wait for like 20 minutes to make sure. But everyone was pretty certain after I signed my scorecard that I had won. I just kind of had to wait it out, which, let me be a little calm for a while. But I think it was nice that it happened that way for me, just because, it was a calm day for sure.
Would you say, would it be safe to say, because you mentioned a few moments ago that in the past you kind of had a sense of where you were. So would it be safe to say in this particular event, you weren't really looking at the scoreboard as maybe in the past you have a little bit more frequency? Okay, where am I? And, that kind of thing. So you really didn't know until, like you said, pretty much 18, where you were sitting in sync. So you didn't really pay. So do you think that bodes well for you to not really pay attention to the leaderboard and just focus on your game at hand and just don't sort of let it happen when it happens, as it did in this case?
Yes and no. I feel like the last leaderboard I had seen in this case was on 14, and there was like a 5-way tie. So it could have gone, any direction. So like I kind of did look. There was no board from 14 to 18.
Right.
And obviously, I mean, I birdied 14, birdied 15, and birdied 17. So I
Well, hi, take that.
yeah. But like I was, I'm always under the impression, I've learned this the hard way in the past, that if you're doing it, someone else could be too. So I I didn't let myself get ahead of it. I didn't want to think about it. I just kept staying in my process and having fun with my dad and Riley and her dad, and we just kept going. So I guess in that situation, it was helpful that they didn't put boards anywhere between 14 and 18. And like sometimes if my mom's there in like certain situations, like she'll say something. I don't think she would have in this situation, but she also wasn't there to see it. So, um, I think it was like a perfect storm of just, being in a really good mental space and not having a board to look at.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because, we've had players on in the past that sometimes they'll kind of obsess with the board. They're kind of like, oh, well, here I'm, 3 back and I got to really step it up now. So it changes the flow or the pace of their game. And I think sometimes it can work. I mean, some can kind of just casually glance, say, okay, yeah, all right, I know I got some work to do, and they'll continue on with it. And others, they kind of like they're biting their nails the whole way around because they're, 5 strokes back or they're in the lead, and all of a sudden now the pressure starts. So that's why I asked that. I was just curious to see if that was maybe one of the differences. Now, one last thing, Cindy, then I promise I'll pass it to you. So I got to get me
sure?
up every once in a while. Yeah, I will. I promise. So yeah. So I looked at some of your stats from earlier in the season, and you had some challenges this season. You had quite a few events where you finished over par, missed cuts and things like that. But that changed obviously 2 weeks ago with the win. That was a big standout in the season. So what changed from previous events where you were struggling a little bit more this season? What about your game changed? If it was the game, or was it your attitude? Was your sort of mental process on how you approach things, or it was just a luck of the draw? What changed?
I do think it was a lot of things. I'm in the off season. I applied some new things to my game that I hadn't necessarily had in the past. I have a new mental coach, or another one. I've got 2 now. After the first 3 events, I learned aim point. We had I had 6 weeks off between the Florida swing and the West Coast swing. So I learned aim point during that time period. And it didn't quite feel comfortable yet in the West Coast. So between West Coast and Battle Creek, well, I actually had to go up to Erin Hills. I was first alternate for Erin Hills, but in that quick little week there, I went back and had another lesson, and I think that really helped set it in. But to be honest, I think a lot of it was just staying really patient with my process. I felt really good about where my game was at in the Florida swing, and just wasn't making a lot of putts, wasn't kind of seeing the results that I'm used to seeing. And then the first 2 West Coast events, I put my US Open qualifier. I made a choice to skip Beaumont and put my Open qualifier in Florida, where I felt a little more comfortable, which meant I got out to Las Vegas late and only saw 9 holes of the course, which then you could see in the results of the tournament. And, I have some other stuff going on in my life that made Scottsdale a little bit of a rough week. So like it kind of like, you don't see that stuff on the leaderboard. You don't see what's going on in the background, but I really just leaned into what I've been doing with my team, and trusting that it was going to show up. And my coach, my one mental coach the week of Battle Creek had said, it was a longer story, but he's like, you just got to keep putting the peanuts out and it'll come. And don't focus on the win. Don't focus on getting back to the tour. Just keep doing what you're doing and it'll come. And I really just leaned into that. And I mean, I lean into it every day, but it just obviously really showed up in Battle Creek. So, I think a lot of it is like you said, it is my 8th season as a pro. So I know it is a long season. So I didn't really let the start of the season get to me. And I also really leaned into the fact that I like certain courses, and
Sure.
Battle Creek is one of them. And this stretch of the season is a very good stretch for me. So I wanted to go out there, and I looked at that course in a different light. It was funny. My dad and I got on the course on Tuesday that week, and we were like, why have we never been successful here? And it was just kind of like that course has just been funky for me in the past. And I don't know, we went about the week differently, and it worked really well for us.
Oh, that's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, and sometimes it gels together, and sometimes it doesn't. And you made a really good point earlier on, as you said that you were making some changes early in the season, and
Mhm.
when you do that, it takes a while for that process to kick in. So, obviously, Firekeepers was a chance to put all that and let it gel together, and ultimately you came across and made the win. So, congratulations again on that.
Thank
Sydney,
you.
go ahead.
You said you looked at the course differently. How did you like try to have more fun? Did you try to trust it more? What did you do different?
Yeah, I think definitely have more fun. I think I have more of an aggressive style of play, so we really leaned into that. Where I think in the past I've kind of given into the course a little bit. Um, and then my dad and I, like, he's been caddying for my entire pro career, but with the changes I've been making, it's kind of, I think originally like we shifted more from him being a parent on the course to caddy, and now we're really becoming a equal team on the course. And I think the changes we've made has really made that gel. And I think we went about decision making together. It wasn't him, and it wasn't necessarily always me. We read every putt together. It was just, everything was a team effort. And then off the course, I was doing a really good job of recovering well, and we were having fun. And like I said, I do think a part of Sunday was we were in a very comfortable pairing for us. Riley and her dad are like, we've known him for over 20 years. So the four of us were just having a great time all day, and it kept my dad loose, which helped me stay loose too. Like, we feed off each other in that way. So like both of us staying loose and not anxious that entire time was really helpful.
What a blessing. What would you tell a young girl that wants to play, that the lessons that you've learned, not only from junior golf, but how long you've been trying to play on tour? And because I played forever, I've been playing forever, and the ups and the downs and the trying too hard and thinking outcome and process, and oh my God, I want to quit this game, and I hate you, and I love you, and I think I can do this, and no, I can't, you suck, you should quit. No, I can't. No, I want to keep going. What have you learned? Tell us.
Well, that was my brain last year. That's what I've learned.
Oh, and it might happen again. and
it
again,
might
and
happen
again.
again. Yeah. Like, silencing the noise in your head is huge. I used to go in practice rounds like as recent as last year. That's not a joke, and be like frustrated and tell myself I sucked on the course. Like, my dad knows it. He's heard it. But I know it's not true. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but when you're saying that stuff to yourself, it doesn't necessarily help. Like, you hear it. But I think for me, like, really just being patient. Like, you never know when it's going to be your week. You never know when you're going to have the dream week and get your LPGA card, like I did in 2022. Like, but just keep working on what you've been working on, and working with your team and your family. And if you truly want to play, just enjoy it. Don't make it about the win. Don't make it about the money. None of that. Just go play golf. Like, that's why I started playing this game. Like, I loved the game of golf. And if I lose sight of that, I know I'm in trouble. So thankfully I haven't. And that's why I'm still out here. Like I want to play great golf. I want to have fun, and I want to travel and see the world while doing it.
And I will tell you that you can always get a job.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
again,
Yep.
you can always get a job, and what you're doing is fun. And so our son was trying to play on tour, and he shot like 6 or 7 under par at Q school, and he came home and he goes, I just played my butt off and I didn't sniff it. So I think I should get a job. So he did. He got his amateur status back. And then when he was applying for a job, a bank offered him a job. And then because he's got a finance degree, and then he said, maybe I should be a financial advisor, but I wouldn't really have a job in an office. And I said, you've been self-employed for a long time. You can always work in an office. You should go do this where you're free. And he's still free. He's the only one that's still free. Oh, and I call him the golf whore now, right? And so he's using the golf, so again, you just keep doing what you're doing, because you can always be in an office.
Plenty of time. Yeah.
I shouldn't say that out loud, but whatever. You get it.
It's fine.
What do you do for fun?
Well, I have 2 dogs.
Oh, good.
So I got one right after I turned pro. He's going to be 8 next month. And then for my birthday was the last day of Tour Champ last year, and my family surprised me. I've been wanting to get a second, and they surprised me and had golden retrievers.
Awesome.
So they're big dogs. So the puppy, well, he'll be a year in August, but he's going to be trained to be a service dog for me. So he'll travel full time. Like, he travels a little bit when we can drive now. He's not ready to fly yet. But yeah. So
are you training him?
So I did. That is a great question. I did a couple levels of like basic training with him in the off season, and then I think I'm gonna have to send him out to get trained. Just mostly because the time, like, I don't have the time for it, and to be honest, I'm not the best at it. So he's a good dog. He's really smart, so I think he's gonna be just fine. But I'm gonna have to probably send him somewhere to get trained fully. But he's a little angel. My family doesn't think that most days, but he is.
Yeah. That's great.
So I am they're at home this week, and they'll be out on the next 4-week stretch, both of them.
And where did we go the next 4 weeks? I think you're coming towards us. I'm in Buffalo.
Connecticut, New York, Toledo, South Bend.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ted, I'm going to let you talk again.
Oh, wow. I was enjoying that. Yeah, that's good. I think that's smart, sending the dog out to be a little more effectively trained, because I think there's certain skills that obviously they have that we don't have as pet owners, and you want to make sure they get the best of the best. So, so I want to ask you, if you were to dial back time and you were to go back before you turned pro, and maybe even before you played in Florida, knowing what you know now about what you play, how you play, all of that, is there any advice you would give yourself that you didn't have at that time, but knowing what you know now, you could go back and say, okay, I would do this differently? Is there anything differently that you would do? I'm not saying change, not play golf. I'm just saying approach it differently than what you have.
Yeah. This is a controversial take. I do have an answer to this question. It is a different one. I would probably say, don't go play college golf. For me.
Oh, really? Wow.
For me. I would have still got my college degree. I mean, I would have done it right away anyway. I was in a really great spot when I was 17, 18, that I could have, done what Nellie and Brooke did. We all grew up together. We were all the same age.
Sure.
But I was stubborn, and I wanted to go to college. I had a lot of people telling me not to. Some very important people in my life. They were saying you were ready. And, I went to college, and then I put on a lot of weight. I got really depressed.
Right.
I didn't have the best experience. I almost quit golf in college. That's why I left after 2 years. I left at a time, gratefully, we got me out of there very quick, where I was able to recover, but it took a while. And I am all for people playing college golf. But my experience, if I could go back knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have done it. I still graduated. I graduated my rookie year on Epson Tour. So I still would have done that. And to be honest, I'm actually considering doing my master's while I'm out here now. So
Good for
I'm
you.
all for college education. But, I do believe my experience set me back a bit. So I think knowing that, this is the first time I've ever said this. Knowing that, like, yeah, I mean, maybe I would have just been like, listen to the people who are telling you something different. But like
And
I said, I
listen
was a
to your
stubborn
heart.
18-year-old. Yeah. Yeah. I was being stubborn. I wanted to go to college. I had dreamed of playing for Florida for, oh my gosh, I could have committed in like 6th grade if I wanted to.
Really? Where'd
Yeah,
you grow up?
I grew up in Pennsylvania, but I moved to Florida at 11 and had a really great relationship with the coach that I committed to at Florida. She wasn't the coach I played for, but it was the only school I looked at. Like I was very stubborn. Like I didn't look anywhere
Really?
else. Yeah. I knew where I wanted to be, and I always knew I wanted to play professional golf, and I was like, it'll be there waiting for me. And to be honest, after 2 years, I was like, is it actually going to happen? And so knowing what I know now, I probably would have gone back and changed that. But like I said, college golf isn't for everyone.
Right.
So, am I grateful sitting here knowing I can't go back and change it, that I went through that experience? Most days. Like it did help me grow in ways that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise. But I think, I was meant to go through that in some shape or form. Could I have changed it if I listened to people a little bit more? Yes. But I think this was meant to be my journey for some reason. And I'm also
To share it with others,
Yeah.
And look at you for 8 years of, am I really supposed to do this? And now you've won.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Again, and I just finished writing a book called Take Another Shot at Business, Golf, or Life. And why did I write that book? Because we're all supposed to share our journey, maybe, and some don't have the courage to do so. So good for you for sharing that story.
Thank you. Thank
you.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes, what might be good for one person might not necessarily be good for another. And, even though when you look back and you say, I kind of wish I hadn't have gone and I wish I had done a different route, perhaps if you had have gone that route, I look at, and I'm not saying that this necessarily would have happened with you, but I look at somebody like John Daly who had early success. And then and again, I love John, don't get me wrong, but you look what happened to him later on. He had a lot of stretches of his life where things sort of, the wheels fell off the bus. So, maybe even though it wasn't the most pleasurable experience at that time, it may have prevented something far greater that may not have been as good as you would have hoped. So, there's always a reason for things happening, and it helped you, believe it or not, it's helped you to become a stronger person from that. It's unfortunate. We all go through things that suck. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that tells you that they haven't is lying. So, and again, that's part of our life journey. So, kudos to you. And again, Cindy said, thank you for sharing that, because that's not an easy thing to share. I mean, everybody, oh yeah, I had a great this and I had a great that and that. I mean, come on. No, you didn't.
No,
I mean,
no, you didn't.
You did.
Especially if you play golf. I'm sorry. You are lying through your teeth, baby.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I hear it from most girls out here. I mean, I'm not going to call anyone out, but most girls in my class did not have a fun time. So I know I'm not alone in the boat. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of undue pressure too that I don't think people fully understand. When you're out on tour right now, the pressure falls on you to do, for Samantha. Okay. I'm responsible to Samantha. That's the only person I'm responsible for. When you're on a golf team, especially at the collegiate level, you've got, several other players that you have a certain responsibility for. Forget the coach for a second, but the other players are counting on you to pull your level and so forth of ability. And when you don't, have a good tournament or a good event or something like that, then, a double heaping comes on your shoulders, because you're thinking to yourself, I've really let you guys down. It's not so much you let yourself down, you've let them down, or that's how you feel. So I can see how it's very, very and also too, let's be honest, when you look at the age group of collegiate golfers, you gals are pretty young.
Oh yeah.
You haven't really gone out and experienced a lot of life yet, and all of a sudden you've got this pressure cooker, not so much for yourself, but as part of a team. So I can understand why a lot of people would come out, and it's a good experience in some respects, but would also have some other challenges as well.
I got to say something. I've got to say
yes,
something.
Go ahead.
So
go ahead.
I'm sure you don't know that much about us, but I'm married to a guy who played on tour for 15 years. He played in the Masters 5 times. He's the second purest ball striker Dave Pell's ever tested. And he's very shy and quiet, and he's a nerd who reads directions. And so part of the reason I asked him to marry me is so I could get free lessons for life. And so, because I'm a competitive control freak jerk. And so I did want to kill him at some point. And we went to a seminar where the woman was talking about how her husband drove her nuts. And I'm like, I got one of them. And she had written a book called Personality Plus. So I bought the book, and at the back of the book, there was a personality assessment. So, of course, I took it for me and I took it for him. And then I read off all of his weaknesses to him. And I had a delayed intelligence attack. And I looked at him, I'm like, oh, my God, you can't help yourself. I thought you acted like this on purpose just to drive me crazy. And he just looked at me like, what? And so I really thought that he would lay in bed at night just to say, how can I make her crazy tomorrow? And so I went to get certified in this. And once I did, we would do training stuff for golf teams. And at the time, our son was a walk-on at the Ohio State University. And so we went there because the coach who said Jamie could walk on, and Jamie qualified 6 out of 18 guys in a 9-round qualifier. And the guy said, oh, I'm going to redshirt you. I'm like, you're going to do what? This kid just beat all these other guys in a 9-round qualifier. He qualified 6th, and you're going to redshirt him? And I'm paying $30,000 a year? I'm going to punch you in the face, buddy, right? And so, and then my kid, who doesn't write in the yardage book, you know how you get those yardage books with nothing written in them? So the coach was the nerdball who had all the dots, I's dotted, and the T's crossed. And Jamie's like, don't ask me to write the yardage down because I memorize everything. So we did a training for them. And I said, give me the guy who's got all the yardages. Oh, it's this far to carry this and this far to carry that. And then give me your yardage book. So we did the training. And I said, there's 2 different kinds of players. And this kid needs every yardage. Like Bernard Langer would say, is that yardage from the front of the sprinkler or the back of the sprinkler? And Bernard Langer is going to take 3 minutes to hit a shot. Forgive me. But again, at that father and child thing, he walked off to see whether Tiger was further away or they were further away when they were in the playoff.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, I watched it, right? Because he's a high C personality, and Tiger's like, shut up, let me putt, I'm going to kick your butt, right? So Jamie's that's our son, totally different player. So coaches need to understand that. So we went to Arizona State, and we did the training, and that's when Azahara Munoz was on the golf team. So Alan is a high S. He's very shy, quiet, wants to hit balls on the side, whereas I'm going to hold court with everybody else talking on the range, having fun. So Azahara just absolutely fell in love with Alan because she's shy and quiet and doesn't, So to this day, last week, she finished 6th or 7th. He's like, oh, Azahara played really good. Oh, Azahara just finished 5th or 6th. Azahara did this. So he sent her a message on Instagram. Of course, she responds to him. So in this training, like I was saying, oh, good. She didn't even look at me. She's like, you drive me nuts. I like Alan, right? So again, coaches need to understand that, they don't. So they're going to drive people away. And we did this training for a bunch of golf teams. So we do this with our students now. We give them, they own it, own it, see? Own it academy assessment. You got to understand, number one, who you are, because there's players that are high D's, high I's, high S's, high C's. You got to be who you are on the golf course, because there's who have won major championships, no matter who you are, what motivates you, like
whatever works for you.
Yeah, whatever works for you. You got to be you. And, Alan, you go be a nerd ball and hit a bunch of golf balls and, be little mister, I'm going to hit every shot, which has taught me, quit firing at the pins, you idiot. You're going to bury the bunker and make triple, right?
Yep.
You saw Terrell Hatton slamming clubs this weekend.
Oh, yes.
Take a deep breath, buddy, right?
Take a deep breath.
Yeah, but anyway, you got to be who you are. And if coaches don't get that, they're going to lose people.
Yeah, I know. I'm a high D. I took the personality test pre-college and in college, and handed it to my coach. But
shove it in their face.
I'm not a high D off the course, which is where like I'm more the like quiet, introverted type. But on the course, I'm very much a high D, and I feel like in a way like that wasn't what I was being kind of coached to be.
Right. Yeah.
Which was hard. Like that was very hard to get back. Like you said, you fired at pins. Now, like, obviously I know now 8 years into professional golf, you can't do that all the time.
No, but you said you had to be aggressive. So you had fun this week.
Yeah.
And even Jamie said, we played I was inducted in the LPGA Hall of Fame a couple of weeks ago. We played, thank you. In our family, we played in the Pro-Am. And so he hit this tee shot. He goes, they kept telling me I got to hit up on my driver. I go, oh my God, how far did you hit that drive? He goes, I don't have the guts to do that when I'm playing. I need to hit up on it because he's a super high D. Yeah. And he goes, I need to do that. So again, are you pursuing or are you protecting? And you need when to let it rip. Yeah. Let the big dog eat. And again, sometimes we got clenched butt cheeks and sometimes we got to let the big dog eat.
Absolutely.
And be the big baby. I shouldn't say
well, we've got to let Samantha go and clench the butt cheeks and for her next event. And
no, she's not going to clench the butt cheeks.
I'm sorry.
She's going to let the big dog eat.
I'm sorry.
She just might win again and come back next week, right?
Right. Exactly.
We're going to have fun.
I may have to edit that. But anyways.
Oh, no.
No, this is great.
I know. I'm just teasing. Samantha, we want to thank you.
You should come by Buffalo.
Again. We want to come back on next time. I think we're going to hear from your dad because we want to hear, because you said that sometimes you'll talk out in the course. I want to hear the things that you're saying out there and get his perspective on that. So we may have to get him to sit beside you there but good luck. Congratulations again. And knock them dead, and just keep doing what you're doing. Just do what you know in your heart is right for you, and you'll be successful at no matter what you do. Whether it's continue on in the golf life or whether it's doing something different down the road, you'll do wonderful. But thank you very much. Hang on one second.
Good luck, sweetie.
Cindy and I are going to take a commercial break. We'll be back and jump into the no BS zone. So hang tight.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed listening to this week's Women of Golf show. Ted and Cindy wish to thank this week's special guests. Remember to join them every Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern, here on the iGolf Sports Network, or on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. To get updates on the show, you can follow the Women of Golf's Facebook page at www.facebook.com/womenofgolf. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.